All right, we live, baby. Graham, we stink that ass, baby. Woo! Yeah! Yeah! Son, can we talk about, can we talk? There's a lot of things we can talk about. Can we talk about how good DJ Lagway is for the
Please,
Gators?
please.
Can
It's
we
my
talk
favorite
about,
topic of conversation. I
can
will
we
talk
talk
to any I
about,
will talk to any human being who listens about how good DJ Lagway is at football.
son? I mean, we all know how many times he throws the ball deep and how many times the ball just lands right here.
It's dead in the hands, bro.
Every time.
Dead in the hands, man.
Man, this, you just said it right before we started. I regret not going to this game, man. And
Yeah.
I got season tickets and I gave them to a buddy. And I had a long night. We lost our playoff game last night, but nobody cares about that junk right now. Dude, the Gator defense almost had 100 plays on the field. And they held them to 16 points, dude. 16 points without 4 guys in your secondary. Pup Howard wasn't playing. Dude, Banks, number 88, played out of his mind.
Played his ass off, dude.
Played out of his mind.
I tweeted this. Caleb Banks, have yourself a day, man.
Sapp had a hell of a game. Banks had a hell of a game. Samar James had a hell of a game. 7 sacks from this defensive front for your Florida Gators. Son. This is
dude. And look, by the way, on the flip side, we got to shout out the O-line because 0 sacks on Lagway, who would won that game with 1 leg.
Yeah.
I mean,
100%.
Come on, man. Let's go, dude. Like, I mean, look, don't like. You know what's the most beautiful thing about this, Dylan? We have had just seemingly every week, every post-game show, every midweek show we do, Napier's job has had to be at the forefront of every conversation. And people are going to stay on one side or the other. Some people might, but we don't have to say one thing about his job tonight. We get to just talk about the football players on the field that wore blue that had one hell of a win tonight in front of a sellout crowd, in front of an amazing – man, the Swamp was on one tonight, man. Shout out the Swamp. Shout out the fans. Anyone who's ever said that the Gators have a toxic fan base, I invite you to go kick rocks because what a freaking atmosphere. What a game. They were giving LSU problems all night. A 4-5 football team just sold out a 90,000 crowd, man, and gave LSU fits all freaking night. Man, and look, I gotta say, shout out to Nussmeier. He played a gritty game for the hand he was dealt today. I mean, he was getting harassed back there in front of a hostile crowd. He played well. He's a good player. But for this D line to disrupt the way they did and just live in that backfield, and you could see every play, especially in that first half, every single play. Caleb Banks and Nussmeier were sitting there chirping every play, and it was getting chippy. And man, what a good football game, man.
Man, Nussmeier threw the ball 47 times. The defense was on the field for 100 plays.
Yeah,
there were 48 passes. There were 44 runs. I just lost my train of thought there for a second. Florida couldn't get off the field on third down for whatever reason. They showed a graphic toward the end of the game. Let me see. I took a picture of it. Nussmeier was 12 for 15 on third down for 151 yards and 8 first downs. And it got to the point where it was like, regardless if it was 3rd and 15, 3rd and 12, 3rd and 8, it didn't matter. This dude was going to somehow find a way to get it done. But Graham, the biggest thing that matters is the points on the scoreboard. And LSU didn't have any, man. Even in the beginning of the game, when LSU kicked the field goal and was held to not getting any points there, it didn't matter. This defense bent but didn't break the entire night.
The final result came down to one simple sentence. Florida took advantage. 2 simple sentences. Florida took advantage of their opportunities, and LSU didn't. It's that simple. I mean, how many times? It was one drive in particular in the second half. Like, I want to say it was sometime in the third quarter. And it was I believe it was the drive that LSU got those 2 fourth down conversions. And to your point, it felt like every pivotal got to have it down. LSU was converting, whether it was 15 yards or 5 yards that they needed. For Florida on that drive to not allow a touchdown shows the guts and the grit of that defense to just, no matter what the circumstances are, that, man, they just kept playing, dude. They kept getting up. They kept dusting themselves off and playing the next play with everything they got. And that's the only way that on a drive like that, you're going to keep a team out of the end zone, especially with a quarterback as good as Nussmeier is. The negative plays were huge. The fumble should have been bigger. They ended up kind of squandering the drive afterwards, but I cannot say enough good things about that defensive line and those linebackers tonight. Shamar James had a fantastic game, had a couple of big pass breakups, was getting the backfield, some nice tackles. Aaron Gates early in the game had that key third down stop. And, man, the main two guys we got to shout out. We already talked about one of them. And I think I saw somebody talk about Tyreek Sapp in the comments. Tyreek Sapp and Caleb Banks. Whew, man, those boys showed up to play tonight. Those boys were giving them hell all night. Cannot give those two guys enough credit, man.
By the way, Gator fans, if y'all want to see a bunch of pissed off LSU people, there's a YouTube channel. Not that I'm trying to tell y'all not to listen, but after we're done here, there's a YouTube
Keep the party
channel
going is what you're saying?
Whiskey and Wine. Matt Moscona and T-Bob always do a post-game show from like a cigar bar. It's only must-see whenever LSU loses and whenever they lose a game like this, because both of those guys were very confident in LSU winning the game today. They were – the whole week, Brian Kelly was very confident in what Nussmeier was going to do. And LSU's a good team. They've just had a bad 6 quarters for whatever reason. The second half against A&M and the entire Alabama game was really, really bad. It shocked me how those 2 games went, how Florida did not copy and paste and try to run the football. And I know Lagway didn't have his legs like he wanted to because of his hamstring, which I'm still shocked that he played. Granted, if he got carted off, that none of that matters. If happened 2 weeks ago, if you have a hamstring injury, you're out minimum 2 to 3 weeks. This dude is back, ready to go in 2 weeks, and Brian Kelly was confident what Nussmeier was going to do. And there were so many scenarios of LSU could still get to the title game if they did this and they did that, and they need some help here. And both those guys both said, none of that matters. You're going to Florida. It's a rivalry game. And it's not a rival among the national people, but everybody that knows this game, that the fan base is between the two. If you know, you know. This is a rivalry game.
Man, if you know college football at all, you know that this is a game. This is 2 teams that do not like each other whatsoever.
And Florida has not won, have not beaten LSU since 2018. And they needed to get back on track. They didn't.
I got a kind of a funny little anecdote. So today, I was driving to my parents' house at dinner with my family tonight, and my fiance and I were driving here, and we were talking about we've been dating for 5 years. So we've been dating since 2019, and I was kind of just rattling through to my brain. We were kind of talking about the game and different stuff, and I'm like, LSU is the only rival that you and I haven't seen a win together as a couple. So my fiance, you know how long we've been dating. We hadn't seen Florida beat LSU. They had beaten Georgia, they'd beaten Tennessee, they'd beaten Florida State. But to think about that Pick 6 game being the last time they had won is crazy, man. Like, for context, for a lot of people listening, Dylan and I were like in college the last year. Yeah, we weren't just like in it. Yeah, exactly. I was about to say, not only were we in college, but we were like entrenched in college. It's not like we were about to graduate or anything. Christopher and a couple other people have said, does this mean the shoe curse is broken? It might. It just might mean that Marco Wilson's ghost is no longer haunting the Florida LSU game. When Florida and LSU play, you can always guarantee some weird stuff is going to happen. Tonight, it really felt like, man, just start to finish, like, it felt like the Gators defense was going to play well enough that all the offense needed to do was figure out a way to sustain 4 to 5 drives, get in the end zone a couple of those times, and get a field goal the other times. And it felt like that was going to be plenty to win, and it certainly was, man.
Yeah, I write notes throughout the game so I can just go back and because you forget things as the game goes on because when the game goes on and it's a close game like this, you know, what the things that happen in the fourth quarter usually get way more talked about more than the others. Florida, going back to the first half, the time of possession was insane. It was tied 10-10. Florida ran the ball 9 times for 52 yards. LSU was 8 for 12 on third down. The time of possession was 20 minutes to 9. And I'm just thinking, Florida's got to run the ball. Florida's got to run the ball.
And it got worse later.
Yeah, and then it got
the end of the game. The time possession was almost 2-1.
At the end of the third quarter, LSU had ran 88 plays with a whole nother quarter to go, if I'm not mistaken. And this is without without Pup Howard, man. Pup Howard's been one of the better linebackers on the team. One of the better guys that's made tackles that didn't make mistakes.
And without your 2 starting corners too, by the way.
Yeah, your 2 starting corners. You had to move Bridges to corner. You're losing 4 guys in your secondary, and for this performance to come out, man, is
Bridges is good, by the way. He's a good player, man. Yeah, from what I remember, I want to say I remember him missing a tackle, and I think he got he maybe gave up one of those third downs or something, from what I can remember.
Yeah.
But other than that, he had some good hits. He had some good tackles. He had some break. He had the breakup to win the game at the end. He's a good player. They got guys that probably didn't come into the year expecting to play, and Bridges did, but some other guys that probably didn't come into the year expecting to play a whole lot that are making plays on a consistent basis. And man, it is so encouraging to just see it. It's crazy, in today's day and age, when you've got guys opting out across the country, not wanting to continue to play for that football team once adversity hits. You've got this team in Gainesville I know we hear the players play hard all the time, but it's easier to swallow the pill of saying the players play hard tonight because they play hard enough to win. For them to continue to have that fight and finally get to enjoy some of the fruits of that labor and it not just be a joke that we all say, well, at least they play hard. For them to actually come out and win a huge ball game like that, that's got to feel incredible for that locker room. Looking toward the future, Dylan. Ole Miss worries me. It's noon, so the Swamp will still be great. The Swamp is always great, but noon versus 3:30 is a big difference. Plus, I think offensively they'll be a little more creative and throw some eye candy at Florida like Texas did that clearly presented a problem for those DBs. So we'll see. We'll see with Ole Miss. We'll kind of see. Ole Miss has been a little Jekyll and Hyde this year. They played really poorly against Kentucky and lost to a bad Kentucky team at home, but then they just beat Georgia on the road last week. So kind of tough. Who knows? We'll kind of see. I believe this team now is going to absolutely slaughter Florida State in Doak Campbell last game of the year. And then you're looking at a bowl game. And look, bowl games nowadays, it's kind of who cares. I get it. It's more about just the fact that if they play their cards right, they now are going to have more than likely 3 more games to prove everybody that has been, yourself and myself included, that have been they got to cut bait and move on from this guy. They're going to give themselves more football now to try to change that narrative slowly but surely. And who knows if they will? There's ball left to be played. Narrative can change really fast next week. But for the here and now, what a big momentum swing this can be if they take advantage of it.
Yeah, I mean, next week, I saw earlier today, Ole Miss has 3 guys on their defensive front that are all top 17 in the country in sacks. You got Princely, maybe you've heard of him. He's got 10.5 sacks. They got another guy that's got 9.5 sacks, and they got another guy that's got 7.5 sacks.
Walter Nolan is one of those guys who's going to be a top pick in the draft.
He's one of them. But man, we can talk about it another time, man. This is
Dylan,
I'm pretty confident. Yeah, if Lagway's playing against Florida State, you can forget about that game, man.
Speaking of Lagway, I want to go back to the conversation we kicked off the show with, because I think everybody else would love to talk about it as well. Can we just talk about DJ Lagway and how good he is? This kid, first of all, one of my favorite parts about him is personality-wise, demeanor-wise, how he carries himself. This dude's a true freshman. He carries himself like he's a fifth-year senior.
Dude, the final play he had where he stepped up again in the pocket to hit Badger to the 1 yard line. That's not real from a guy that's played 7-8 games in college football, dude.
Dude, if we had done this podcast this time last year, he'd be a high schooler, bro.
Yeah.
He'd be talking about prom with his friends. And he just did that. I mean, how is that even possible? Like, you watch it in the NFL every week on Sundays, and this dude clearly will be playing on Sundays in a couple of years. There's certain guys, man, where the ball just, the way it comes out of their hands, it's like, that's God-given ability, dude. Like people that aren't born with that kind of raw ability, it doesn't matter how well they're coached. It doesn't matter how hard they work. Like, they're never going to be able to make the ball look like that. And Lagway is one of those that has that rare ability where it's like, dude, 40 yards, 50 yards, 60 yards down the field, he can get it there, hit people dead in the hands with zip on it. And by the way, he's willing to stand in the pocket, take the hits. He's a competitor. And then you, like I was saying a minute ago, like, just his demeanor, bro. Like, this dude's all ball, bro. Like, he's not really, you can tell he's not super, like, obsessed with himself, which would be really easy to do. I mean, he was the freaking Gatorade Player of the Year. He's got a commercial with freaking Jason
Jordan.
Tatum and Serena Williams and stuff at a Gatorade commercial.
Michael Jordan. All you guys say is Michael Jordan.
Oh, he is on Michael. You're right. Michael freaking Jordan, obviously. Like, but you can tell that he's just like, he's very much, he's in the moment. He's like, I got a job to do, and I'm going to go kick people's ass. Like, this dude is a certified killer. And if you keep him healthy, which if you let that hamstring keep progressing and you protect him enough to keep him healthy, Badger's clearly a dude. We haven't talked about Elijah Badger yet. That guy can play. And he was getting down the field all game long. He was clearly his favorite target. And you look at, especially going into next year, man, you get Mizell a little more involved. Hopefully, knock on wood, you get Eugene Wilson back. You get a couple of these other young guys involved. Man, this can be an explosive offense with this dude at the helm. Explosive.
You know what the craziest thing is about him having a great game? He didn't carry the ball one time.
No, and it was clear. The play calling and the game plan was clear from the jump that they did not want to have him have to move around a lot. I mean, did you see what they were talking about pregame with, like, the string they engineered in his pants pocket? That is crazy, first of all. But for those that didn't see pregame, they were talking about Lagway's. I want to say it's his left hamstring. I think that's the one that's banged up. They had like a string or something that was tied into his pants, into his pants, and then, like, went down to his ankle to keep his leg from opening up too much to potentially, tear his hamstring more or re-injure it. So when he's as good as he is and can throw the ball like he is, and he's only 75%, and you call a game plan where you're not really going to ask him to run the ball, I don't think ever, then shoot, this works. When Napier said the other week, he said, look, like, he's not 100%, but because of the nature of his position, like, we could figure something out. At the time, I'm like, dude, you're an idiot. He's 100% or he's not. He was onto something because it was working tonight. Like, in every drive wasn't perfect. They had their issues. I think most of the drives that they had problems with was more because of penalties. But when they were playing clean football, I mean, this guy was killing them. This dude was killing them down the field. LSU, and look, like, what's the old saying, Dylan? There's no coverage for a perfect throw.
No, there's not.
You had a couple perfect throws in this game, and perfect throws 30+ yards down the field. I mean, this dude's unbelievable. And last thing on this kind of thing I want to say to him, because I see a lot of people commenting, and he deserves the praise. We haven't talked about Jaden Ball yet or Jacoby Jackson. Jacoby Jackson, I thought throughout the game was playing a little bit better. Yeah, which when he was in the game, it just felt like Ball kept getting stuck. I don't think it's Ball's fault, but it just felt like when Jackson was in the game, maybe it's because LSU was having a little bit of a softer front, thinking we were more likely to run the ball with Ball. Jackson throughout the game playing really strong. A couple of nice runs, getting 5 or 6 here and there, and then ripping off. He ripped off that big one on the first touchdown drive. But Ball with the kill shot, man. I'm sitting there with my dad. We're watching at the end when Gators are up 4, get the ball back, and I'm like, man, how how satisfying would it feel if they just go down and just score and just punch him in the mouth, kill shot? And boy, Jaden Ball said, "Hold my beer," didn't he?
Yeah, Ball finished with he had 55 yards on that one run. Finished with 6 carries, 65 yards. Jacoby Jackson had 6 carries for 37, and Montreal Johnson had 2 carries for 14. So they kind of they spread it out a little bit, but I thought, when you win, these things don't get talked about as much, but they should have found a way to run the ball more. I mean, when the
I
defense was
agree.
on the
I
field,
agree.
when the defense was on the field as much as they were, you've got to be able to stay on the field a little longer so you can give those guys a breather, man. Because all those guys, you celebrate tonight, but once you come back tomorrow and you get back to these meetings and you start putting the game plan in for Ole Miss, they better be hitting this ice bath. Because, I mean, dude, it's middle of November and Mason Taylor, who's from Florida, was going down with cramps. Like, they're on the field for that much.
It's weird, like, play calling wise, and I know we've all had our issues with Billy Napier's play calling, and even more so than play calling, I think play design, just never seeming to be creative enough and opening up enough. It just kind of, it always feels like their play calling is kind of in a box, and they don't really expand very much beyond the couple of schemes and concepts they're trying to do. It feels like, especially with Lagway and his ability to push it down the field, it feels like they're getting a little more creative in passing concepts, but rushing concepts have almost gotten even more dumbed down, it feels like, which is odd. Like, I kept seeing, I don't know if you felt the same way, Dylan. They would send Aiden Mizell in motion a lot, and I kept, at some point they're going to give him a jet sweep or something because they need to run the ball, but they're not testing the edges at all. At some point, they got to, because you're not going to be able to do it with Lagway today because of his hamstring. So at some point, even if it was just maybe a couple more screens here and there, which isn't technically a run, but sort of, or maybe some sweeps. They just need to do a little bit more in that regard. Anthony says we'd like to see Mizell and DK get more involved. A great win today. Yeah, of course. That was weird. And Mizell's really fast. And when Eugene Wilson was still healthy, they'd run those sweeps all the time. And they worked a decent amount. It was a little bit odd they didn't do that. So I'm kind of confused with that. And I think doing that and forcing LSU to be a little more disciplined with their contain might have made Baugh and Jackson's life in Montreal for the 2 plays he got in. It probably would have made their life a little bit easier. Do you agree?
Oh, 100%. And Damian George, he wasn't out there tonight, but you still at least attempt it. And it felt like, I got to go back and look. It felt like every single first down.
I thought George played. Did I miss that?
I might be wrong on that.
People in the comments, let us know.
Yeah, let me know. I might be tripping. But it felt like every single first down and second down was a pass play. So it wasn't like they tried to, at least try it and get maybe 4, 5, 6 yards on a play. It felt like they wanted to hit something with Badger or DK, which was kind of odd to me. To me, this is, I think, the best win for Napier under his helm since the Utah game, and with it being at home too.
I would agree.
The Tennessee game last year was big at home, but it didn't feel like this. It feels like there's a lot of momentum moving forward. And now that we're toward the end of the year, and I don't know how many people. Okay, so he did play. I was tripping. Everybody else didn't play though. All the guys are freaking on the injury report. Now that we're getting toward the end of the season, now that Lagway's playing and getting a lot of momentum, this does help, I think, a lot in recruiting and guys that are on the fringe of potentially coming in here, especially the guys that are in the portal, because Napier's got to hit the portal, man. And you got to hit it good, and you got to hit it well, because next year, again, you're playing the same schedule. You've got to get guys that are going to come in and play from day one.
And we talked about this. We've talked about this kind of in spurts throughout the year. What have we said multiple times when it comes to recruiting for the future and what this program might look like? You can sell hope, right? Aren't you the man that has a hoodie of Billy Napier's face that says
Yeah.
hope?
Damn it. I wish I had it right here with me.
So
Dang.
the big problem they ran into earlier in this year is it felt like any potential hope left was just dwindling more and more with every possible week. And it's like, man, I don't even know if there's hope to sell anymore. Especially because you have a coach in year 3 and the new car smell of what Billy's trying to sell is wearing off a little bit because the wins aren't following suit. And eventually that runs out if you're not performing on the field. A big win like this, especially if you capitalize on it and continue to play really well for the rest of the season. Now, and you got a quarterback that looks like he's going to be one of the best players in the sport next year. Now I got real hope to sell people. And Billy Napier has shown that when there is any positive mojo, he can capitalize on the trail. He has shown that ability. 100%. I mean, DJ Lagway is on the football team for a reason. He has shown that. So you see a little bit of this come to fruition, and you think, what could be, man? What could be? And it's not excusing the fact that it's taken them this long to show anything. It's not excusing any of that. It's not saying that Strickland made the right decision just yet on putting the stamp down. They're hanging on to Napier. By the way, this does pretty much, I think, you're probably going to agree with me. This firmly stamps he's the coach next year without a shadow of a doubt, correct? Because we talked about the other day, there's still a little bit of a question that the win tonight, there ain't no question, right?
Yeah, 100%. Because you're going to beat Florida State, you're going to go to a bowl game, and then yeah, that's going to happen.
Yeah. So, and there's hope to sell now, man. And if these rumors are true about what the buyout was going to be and the money they pulled together for that, the boosters did, that they're going to, I don't know that for a fact. I haven't really seen any that in concrete, but I'm just kind of speculating what some people have said. If they're going to turn that around into spending money on transfer portal and getting some top blue chip recruits and getting this class back to something respectable, I'm in for 2025.
Dude, how about, I don't know if you can see this, Napier,
Yeah.
whenever the Gator football page tweets this out and says, please don't damage our tables, coach.
That's classic.
Dude. Oh, man, they done had that in the drafts for a while. You know what else is also over when it comes to streaks? Chris Doering and Peter Burns. Doering every year because they always have a bet because Peter Burns is an LSU guy. Chris Doering's a Florida guy, obviously. And I forget how long they've had this bet for, 5 years now. And every year LSU's beaten Florida since then. And Doering's got to do something dumb like wear a costume on the SEC set on Monday. Well, not no more.
Yeah.
So that's another one that's going down. There was another thing I wanted to hit too, Graham. Not to be a Debbie Downer. DJ Lagway did have 2 INTs that were just straight dropped by LSU. And again, that's another thing that we don't talk about because it didn't happen, and 2, they weren't caught by the other team. But I mean, I said this about a month ago. I'm fine with him making a mistake like that, man. You're a true freshman. You got to roll with it, and the offense is his. It's not like Billy Napier's trying to have him handcuffed. I mean, he did tonight because obviously with his running ability, but you got to be able to sling it. If you want to beat, a team like LSU tonight, those are things that you're just going to have to live with. Now, it helped, they were fine with it today because they didn't catch it, but, against Ole Miss next week, those are things that are probably going to happen.
Yeah. And, you kind of took the words out of my mouth. Like, if they catch it, at least one, like, how does that change the game? Like, we'll never know. But to your point of, I think what you were just trying to say a second ago is like, when you got a QB that can throw it down the field like that effectively, and he's that explosive, you got to take the bad with the overwhelming good that he provides you. Like, we've gotten used to over the last year and a half or so before he got injured, we've gotten used to Mertz, consistent, dink and dunk, pick up first downs, stay on the field, don't turn the ball over. We kind of got used to that game management style a bit, and Mertz was good, and it was effective at times and not as effective at times. When it was ineffective, it was more about other stuff, not necessarily Mertz himself. This is the opposite. This is a little more boom or bust, but with Lagway, it seems to be 85% boom. And then every now and again he'll throw one where you kind of scratch your head and say, what are you doing? But you can't put guardrails on a QB with that type of ability. You have to let him mentally go out into the game and play free and be like, I'm the man and I'm going to trust my arm and make the plays that I'm capable of making because I am an elite one-of-one type of player. And if that comes with a pick or two, good for us that it didn't happen tonight. But if it happens in the future, I totally agree. It's one of those things you got to live with. And then you obviously hope as well that as he plays more, gets older, matures, develops, that he really starts to take those out of his game.
Billy Napier went to the podium and obviously says a lot like he does every time he comes up to the podium. He said the biggest mission tonight was to protect Lagway for the most part. He thinks that they did that. No sacks. I think he might have got pressured a couple of times. I know he got pressure on that time where he threw that ball to Badger. I mean, dude's coming free off the edge. He steps up and makes that kind of play. Like we hit on earlier about 20 minutes ago, is just unreal.
It was reminiscent of the touchdown against Tennessee.
This is another thing I wanted to say about Lagway, dude. For the last, since Urban Meyer left, we've had Jeff Driscoll, we've had Will Greer.
Trayon.
Well, I'm trying to think of the really, really top quarterbacks. Anthony Richardson, that was the other one. Anthony Richardson, and I'm sure if you want to throw Trayon in there too. All of those guys, and we'll never know with Will Greer because of everything that happened with him. Dude, everything that we've wanted in a quarterback from the last 15 years, we're getting finally with DJ Lagway. I mean, the dude, it's funny how I just said everything. The dude is almost just, he has so much talent to where it's almost like a play caller. You can make any play almost work, which is a dream. And on top of that, Napier can go recruit to anybody and say, hey, we have this guy. And he's not only going to be here for another year, he's going to be here for another 2 years, guaranteed.
Yes. You can sell hope, man. And the more that hope looks like it could really come to fruition, the more effective this is going to be. And if Florida opens up the checkbook this offseason, look out. They could really have a nice surge of a lot of the young players they already got that seem to be playing really well and picking it up. Next year they're going to have to replace Badger and DK, so that they're going to need more portal guys at receiver that have experience and to play more ball. And they're going to need some stuff, a couple offensive linemen and defensive linemen for depth and all that. But anyways, you can sell hope, and the hope is a lot more feasible now. It doesn't seem so far and distant away. It feels like more of a true thing that could actually happen because of a big win like tonight.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's just this game shows you football is such a week-to-week sport, man.
Yeah.
2 weeks ago, everybody thinks, we're going to this gauntlet, and everybody in this chat believes, and a lot of people believe that Florida would have beaten Georgia had Lagway stayed healthy. Didn't happen that way. You get crushed by Texas. You're down 42-0 right after Strickland puts out the statement that Billy's coming back next year. And now it's, we're back on cloud nine and, singing the high praises of DJ Lagway. And, who knows what's going to happen next week. Hopefully you can get Pup Howard back from injury. Hopefully a lot of the guys can stay healthy because, it should be a good game. The game is at noon, which is kind of a dud considering the kind of win they just had. But, the TV networks make those decisions. And
this should be a night game.
Yeah, this should be a 7 o'clock, 7:30 kick.
3:30, I get it, but night game. This should be a night game.
Yeah. So hell of a win, man. Hell of a win.
I want to shout out just in the comments real quick because he's always in there. He's always in here interacting with us. I want to shout out Rob, my man Rob S. Disagrees with some of the stuff we say. Agrees with some of the stuff we say. But this man is a hero. Thank you, Rob, for coming and engaging with us and everybody else that engages with us on a regular basis. It's nice to have a little bit of a party with the comment section and have fun tonight, isn't it, Dylan?
Yes, and I'm glad he mentioned this. Dog, 2 touchdowns were scored in the final minute 15 of this game. Missouri went up, scored a touchdown. They were down 5, took the lead, and then South Carolina scored a touchdown. I think it was like 15 seconds left.
Wow.
To win the game. They ran it in.
It seems like South Carolina is in a drunk game every week, doesn't it?
Yes. Dude, well, they're a really good team.
They don't play just normal games. They just play weird-ass games every week.
Yeah. Well, they should have beaten LSU. They played Alabama to the wire. Remember that crazy onside kick that happened at the end of the game? And they lost another one. But, dude, I mean, the SEC, I mean, you talk about there was a scenario that not a lot of people, I don't think, knew about where LSU still had a shot to play in the SEC title game because going into today, they had 2 conference losses, not 3. Remember, they lost to USC week 1. And they just needed, like, 2 teams to win. I forget what it was exactly, which was not out of the realm of possibility. Like, it wasn't, Mississippi State beating, Alabama, like something crazy like that.
They had a Hail Mary at the 50.
Yeah. I mean, it was slim, but they still had a shot. They needed to win out. And, I mean, none of those dreams matter anymore because they got to have whoop tonight. But, I mean, you have so much good football going on in the SEC. And, these Big Ten pukes in the top 5, they're not even playing each other. And you got teams like Indiana, Penn State. I mean, everybody in this chat, I'm sure, would agree. Indiana, Penn State on a neutral field would lose to Alabama, Ole Miss, Georgia.
We got an SEC crowd in these comments. I don't think you're going to get a lot of resistance there.
Yeah. I don't know why I just straight turned to a straight SEC homer there. But, yeah, man, good win. Appreciate everybody for popping in. Got almost like 500 people live. It's crazy what happens when you win a football game.
Yeah, man. Everybody that tunes in and everybody that engages, I just shouted out Rob a minute ago, rightfully so. But everybody else, like me and Dylan, cannot stress enough how much we appreciate you. Thank you guys for hanging out with us, venting when it's bad, celebrating when it's good, just covering this team from start to finish. Everything we see, everything we like, we don't like, what have you. Dylan and I love doing the show. We ain't gonna stop doing it. We love college football like the rest of you guys do. And yeah, man, let's keep it rolling. Let's have more shows like this, bro.
Hey, so we all know about all the recruits that are leaving Florida State. Tramel Jones was in the building, quarterback at Mandarin, who looks like he's gonna lean to Florida. This just came down the wire. 4-star, yeah, it's fine. 4-star offensive lineman flips commitment from LSU to Ole Miss minutes after the Tigers lost.
Wow.
So, more bad news to all of our opponents, baby.
Yeah.
So, all right. I'm going to watch the Georgia-Tennessee game. LSU can take their sorry butts home. And we'll talk to y'all Tuesday morning. I'm Dylan Denmark. That's Graham Marsh. And let's have a drink tonight, man.
Yes, sir. Everybody celebrate the win. Go Gators.